What's invoking, guys? This is Team Invoker here, back again with another SalamanGREAT deck profile, and this is for the post-October 2019 Banlist. So basically, SalamanGREAT is going to be one of the best decks of the format, so it's nice to see, I guess, my take on it. I've been playing the deck since February, and I've seen it evolve in quite a few ways. And this format's interesting because there's no defined best deck of the format. Not yet. The format hasn't been solved, but we're seeing a lot of different rogue and back row control and combo type decks come out. So I guess let's get into it. When I show you guys the deck profile, it won't just be, I guess, the ratios, but also really my reasoning behind the cards and the type of cards, because each of these cards fulfill a certain role. The deck has quite a few starters, basically, and the first few starters let you go +1 right after you play them. So this set of starters basically lets you go either +1 through drawing, getting a card in the grave, have a chance of drawing a card, or just naturally getting a card. And these are actually the best starters in the game. Ideally, for a good deck, you want to have roughly close to 14 starters. And so this SalamanGREAT deck roughly has almost, I think, 11 or 12, if I'm not mistaken.
And these are the monsters. There's spells that counts as starters as well.
Exactly. So for starter spells, we have 1 Circle, Banlist, and Triple Silent Mining. These are, this isn't exactly the best because this is a 1-for-1, right? This makes you discard a card, but it's not exactly going to be a neg. It's going to be a 1-for-1 if you're discarding a SalamanGREAT, because ultimately you want to search Gazelle, which is going to trigger anyways, and you want to revive your salads from the grave anyway. So it's not really going to be a neg 1 unless you're discarding a non-SalamanGREAT card. Furthermore, this, along with this, and potentially this. So these 8 cards here, these can also act as extenders. So the dual purpose of each of these cards really gives Salad some nice flexibility in this format and really allow them to outgrind cards. Because any of these cards, if you draw late game, I guess aside from Buffalo if you don't have a card in hand, but any of these cards if you draw late game, that can really push you right back into the duel.
So it's basically a 1-card comeback.
Exactly. So it really lets you generate a lot of advantage, especially because you have a lot of grave setup. So again, drawing any of these cards, right, in combination with another one of the starters, really lets you push to get a lot of card advantage.
And that's the name of the deck, card advantage.
Basically, it's card advantage 101. So again, some of these cards also function as extenders. For more extenders, we're playing Triple Spinny. Spinny can act as a pseudo starter, but ultimately what you're going to end up doing is you're going to banish Spinny and just make Sunlight Wolf, which is fine if you have the traps already. But ideally, you just want to use this as an extender and not really as a combo starter. You have 2 Jack Jaguar, 2 Sea Archiver. So these are the monster extenders. So Sea Archiver, basically what it does is that if you have any one of your linked monsters, whether you or your opponent, and when a monster is no more special summoned to a zone a linked monster points to, Sea Archiver can special summon itself from the graveyard or from your hand. What's nice about this is that if you have Gazelle, and you special summon Gazelle to a zone, for example, where Bladelinks points to, you can chain block Gazelle with Sea Archiver. So chain with 1 Gazelle, right? Exactly. You can't ash it, you can't over it, etc. So it's really nice for that. And it also has synergy with Flame Buffalo because it is a Cyberse. It's basically like you're playing 5 Spinnies. So these are the monster extenders. The remaining extenders we're playing Double Will because Nibiru is a card this format. This really allows you to come back, especially against some of the more grindy decks, rogue decks. We're talking Striker, Sub-Terror, let's say True Draco, Paleozoic, Marincess, I guess. Right? And finally, we're playing Pot of Desires.
The 1 Desires. Is that your 48th card?
That is actually the 41st card.
41st.
Really, because sometimes you want to really make a push mid-game or even early game to see the cards that you want to see. Because the thinking is if you don't see your combo starters or even your extenders in the beginning of the game, most likely you're going to get blown out of the game entirely. Right? So, but again, it also depends on the matchup. Like, for example, against something like Sub-Terror, you don't really want to just shotgun this. You really want to sort of develop your board, see what they do, and then if you're feeling like you need a nice push, you can go into Pot of Desires, which is especially fine as long as you have your engine outside of the deck. So your engine being your Gazelle, I guess your Trap, your Jack Jaguar, your Field Spell even. Because once these cards are out of your deck, the remainder of the cards are very repetitive. Right? So you don't want to, draw Spinny mid-game, which is fine, really, but your draw 2 really want to be hand traps or just want to be pure traps, right? Or even an extender like Silent Mining or Circle or Gazelle.
Yeah.
So that brings it up for the extenders. So as you can see, we're playing 7, 8, 9, 10 extenders, and these can combo in with our starters. So there's quite a few bit there. For defensive options, we're playing Nibiru. Again, the format is very undefined, and against decks like Paleozoics, let's say Thunder Dragon, Striker, Subterror, it's really useless, but it's sort of like where the Maxi situation came in, where you want to see this rather than not seeing it entirely against the matchups that it is good against, like, such as SalamanGREAT, Orchist, or other, even Heroes is on the rise right now.
Some combo deck. Yeah.
Exactly. So you don't want to be blown out of the game entirely. And maining this in Salad is completely fine, because even if you go first and you have this in hand, as long as you get your Gazelle back and you have some great setup, you can Nibiru the entire board and you have your combo next turn as well.
Then just redo it again.
Exactly. So there's a lot of recursion with this deck, which is why Nibiru is completely fine in this. For other hand traps, we're playing Ghost Spell. I wanted to play hand traps that are really high impact this format. So Ghost Spell is really good against a lot of decks, right? So whether that be Strikers, because Strikers are now leaning towards Shark Cannon. Against Thunder Dragon, Dragon Hawk, you prevent that from activating. That can really stun their plays, especially if it's the Battery Man Solar and Thunder Dragon Hawk combo.
Yeah.
Against Orcus, if you prevent the Galtia from coming back, that can really hinder their combos as well, because they usually either end on a long gear suit and pass, and they won't go into the top logic Bomber Dragon. Against Salad, you prevent the Jack Jagger from coming back, or you prevent the Spinning from coming back,
Sunlight Wolf,
or even the Sunlight Wolf from adding back, right? So it's very it's not situational, but it can come up a lot, and it's very underrepresented. And against Ash, because Ash, again, it's been around since Maximum Crisis, and
it's fire.
It's level 3. It does come up where sometimes you want to just get the Spinny on board, the Ash, and go into Mirage Stallion, and because it's fire, you can always add it back with Sunlight Wolf.
Yeah.
So these are your defensive options. For other defensive options, you have your double SalamanGREAT Roar and your double Rage. So again, these are searchable, which makes them really nice. I played 2 because, again, I am playing Desires, but it's also something you want to open up with. So there's that. For non-searchable, we have double Compulse. I felt Compulse was a good call this format because there's a lot of decks out there right now, such as Thunder Dragon, again, SalamanGREAT, Orcus,
you can't destroy,
right? Again, that you really want some non-destructive removal, right? So disturbing them mid-combo can really hinder their plays. Like, for example, if they make Galatea and or even Longirsu and you just bounce it back, right? They've used up the resources and they can't really come back from there. Yeah. If they make Batterman Solar, right, and they don't have an extender in hand, such as any Thunder Dragon to activate, right, you can really stun their plays, or even just bouncing back the Colossus. And this is good, even sometimes going second. For example, today, I played against Mystic Mind Burn, and I just bounced back my own Sunlight Wolf, which popped his own Mystic Mind. So it does have several different situations that comes up. Against the Salad Mirror, he enemy controlled his own Blaylinks to take my Sunlight Wolf, but I bounced it back, so which made him neg hard.
That's a 1 for 2.
Exactly. And the last card, which adds flexibility to the deck, is Trap Trick. So Trap Trick is really nice because you have options as SalamanGREAT Rage, you have your Compulse, and in the side you'll see that we're also playing the Artifact package. So it really adds some nice diversity, some options to the deck. It's a really powerful card. So I highly recommend for anyone else who's playing Salad and wants to try a heavy trap lineup to really try Trap Trick.
It's pretty really cheap though, too.
Exactly, it's really cheap. It got reprinted, right? So it's highly accessible. And depending on what the game state calls for, if it calls for a monster removal or disruption, you can bounce it back. If you open with the Roar, you can search the Rage. So it adds a lot of options.
So it's basically like you're playing 3 of these.
Exactly. You're playing 3 of these, you're playing 4 Sanctums, you're playing 4 Imperms, etc. So that does it for defense. The last 3 cards we're playing in the deck to make a 41 are the 3 Phantazmay. Phantazmay doesn't exactly have a specific role in any deck. You can call it an extender. You can call it a consistency card.
Yeah.
But it fills a really niche role where it lets you do a lot of things, especially in Salad, because when you face a deck and you have Sunlight Wolf with the zone empty, you can go for a lot of recursion, because not only do you get protected from targeting, so things like enemy control and mind control, but you also get, for example, a fire type card back with Sunlight Wolf's effect, and you also get to shuffle your breaks back. So it's a really good card. Again, it is pricey and you completely don't need to play it in SalamanGREAT, but if you can, I highly recommend you play it. depending on how the format progresses, this might get cut down to 2, or it might just be removed entirely. Yeah. But for now, because the format's very undefined, I prefer to play it right now. Because
everyone's playing Link,
exactly,
so.
right? You go into your Ash, your Bell, your Nibiru, and it really adds some nice consistency and breaks your hand. And again, Falco does not have exactly a criteria or a role that it fits into.
Yeah.
Right? It can be used for recursion, it can be used for a setup for a Beast Dweller or rank 4 plays, to really grind. I debated on cutting it out, but I prefer it in the deck because it really
it's
does.
Nice to have that.
It's nice to have the option, right? And it's just another name, for Sign of Might to discard off and things like that. And then again, you have one brick. There's nothing you can do about it. I drew this twice today, which is really unfortunate. The worst is when you draw this with Flame Buffalo, because then you can't even chain block Flame Buffalo, and you're really down one card because this is a dead card. So ultimately, going first, you're playing with 4 cards in your hand rather than actually 5 or 6.
But that's the beauty of Phantazmay.
That's the beauty of Phantazmay, exactly. So sometimes where there's situations such as when the Spinny, right? So Spinny going into Blading, searching this, and making Sunlight Wolf.
Yeah.
You want to keep this in hand because you want to activate Phantazmay, shuffle this back, and Phantazmay gets you 2 entirely new cards that you don't need to shuffle back, right? So that's entirely free. So again, it's a break, but you have ways to circumvent it, right? And it is what it is. For extra deck,
right, that's 41 cards in the main. Right?
That is 41 cards in the main. It was very consistent today. For anyone that wants to know my record, I went X1, which doesn't sound great, but it was X1 over 5 rounds. I messed up. My only loss was against Cyber Dragon Control. So for those of you who have seen Yassine's build, who top 8'd YCS Niagara, it was very similar to his build, where there's a very high dependency on Cyber Dragon Overflow, I believe, along with cards like Trap Trig, Compulse, Dusters, things like that. My only mistake was I won game 1, but game 2 he bricked and he made Almiraj, and he also made Cyber Dragon Zeger. Oh. I wasn't paying attention and I forgot I had Phantazmay in hand, which would have changed everything, because what happened was that I ended up breaking and my top deck was horrible.
Oh boy.
So
That's
there's
that.
That was completely my fault. Right? You afford Phantazmay, but you don't know how to use it, right?
Oh.
So going into the extra, playing double Bladings.
There's 2 Bladings.
Yes. So traditionally you want to play 3, but I've been playing 2 for quite a while because it lets you fit other options into the extra deck. And really, you shouldn't really need to have use a third Bladings. If you're using a third Bladings, you're really in a losing situation and you're trying to come back.
Yeah.
But ideally, you just don't want to let the game proceed to that point. So I know it's very aggressive, it's very risky, but it lets you have other options in the extra deck. We're playing 3 Sunlight Wolf. If you haven't seen, these are all Euro German, so on flex.
But 3 is mandatory.
3 is mandatory, exactly. Yeah. You want to reincarnations to seem like the heart and soul of your deck. If it gets cheeried, you sort of lose, right?
Yeah.
2 Sunlight Wolf. 2 Helios. Situational. With Pyro Phoenix coming out, there is an argument for perhaps cutting this out or even siding it per se, because it does shuffle things back and it does serve. Well, Pyro Phoenix does it just better, right? Pyro Phoenix just blows up the entire board.
Yeah.
And I'm not playing Fusion of Fire, so there is no Violet Chimera OTK. So really, there is an argument for cutting this out and just playing 2 Pyro Phoenix. So if you guys don't know, Pyro Phoenix is a new Link 4 monster for SalamanGREAT in Chaos Impact.
Yeah.
It's a Link 4, which requires 2 fire monsters, and when it's reincarnated summon, it gets to wipe off your opponent's entire board, which is really good in the mirror, because the first effect lets you bring back Bladings from your opponent's graveyard, burn your opponent for 500, which can potentially win you the game in time. But when the Bladings is out of their opponent's graveyard,
they can't protect.
You can't protect, and you reincarnate it, which wipes out not only their monsters back row, but also their field spell. So it's a very big blowout.
That's insane.
The last SalamanGREAT card I'm playing are 2 Marat Stalio. 2 Marat Stalio I feel is the correct way to go. Call by the Grave isn't really being played this format, but I feel like it really lets you grind, lets you bounce back things like Thunder like Colossus, right?
Yeah.
Non-destructive removal is very important in this format, and I feel like it's really good to have an option, especially like another rank 3 in the extra. So that does it for our SalamanGREAT monsters.
Yeah. So here are like the flexible cards.
Again, the flexible cards, the utility cards, you have 1 Nightmare Phoenix, right? There can only be 1. Other Floodgates.
It's a fire.
It's a fire, right? Hida,
yeah.
right? Update Jammer. I'm playing Update Jammer because At YCS Niagara, I found Thunder Dragon to be this deck's hardest matchup because it applies so much board pressure, and then going second, it's really hard to get past something that's not when they have like double non-destructive Colossus and a Titan, right? So not only are you unable to search your field spell, but you're also struggling to go past these big monsters, right? Who next turn they can really just blast past you.
Right, so you need an option.
Exactly. So we're playing with Update Jammer and Borload combo, and which lets us steal our opponent's monsters. Even in the mirror, this comes up sometimes against Orcish. You want to steal the Dengir texture cards.
Sorry, yo, can I get in this real quick?
Yo,
First of all, subscribe to Spankle YGO. That's my channel.
Right.
Second of all, I played him today. Had to beat him. You know why? I was playing Cyber Dragon. Okay. You know why I beat him?
We already gave you the shout out.
You already gave me the shout out?
Give your build a shout out.
Okay, there you go.
That's insane, man. Alright, don't worry. I didn't. Yeah, don't worry.
Okay, we're not taking that to heart, but Borload, I find Borload's really good. Again, it's a really high emphasis on non-destructive removal. Previously, I was playing Borosword Dragon, which was really good, but now when there's a resurgence of Thunder Dragon, I just find Borload Dragon to be really good because you can disrupt the Titan as well.
Yeah.
And again, with these two card combination, you
can steal two.
Again, you can steal two, and it really puts your opponent in an awkward situation.
Sick.
We're playing 2 rank 4s, Abyss Dweller and number 41 Baguska. Again, really just flexible options, Orcus, SalamanGREAT, Thunder Dragon, Rogue, right? So I feel like SalamanGREAT is the best deck in the format that can shit out basically rank 4s.
Yeah. And these are the best two.
These are arguably the best 2 floodgate rank 4s at the moment. Another card that you can play from Chaos Impact is IP Masquerena. And you can play that with something like Topologic Bomber Dragon or even Avermax.
Yeah.
But currently that's to be tested still.
Watch out for that updated
Again, that will be an updated
code. Possibly.
Possibly, maybe in November, when the meta is more defined. For side deck, we're playing the one more Nibiru, again,
Third Rocky Boy.
blowout card, Kaijus, right? They're good removal options, I feel.
Yeah.
Right? I'm still trying the format out. It's really good against Guru as well.
It is, yeah. For extra decks.
It's a blowout, right? You go first. So there's no better deck in the format that's good at the grind game and good at making a turn 2 push than Salad. When SalamanGREAT gets a turn 2, the deck is 99% of the time is going to win, right? Because not only do you have cards in hand, but you have an entirely different hand in the grave as well, right? So similarly to Infernoids, right? When Infernoids get another turn, they can grind things out of their graveyard as well. So not only do they have cards in hand, but they also have their graveyard to use as well. So really stunning the opponent out, like with this. And also it's really good because if you get Nibiru, right, and you have Trap Trick or you have this, right, it lets you buy a turn, right? So you can recover from Nibiru as well. Double Mind Control, Mirror, non-destructive removal again. Triple Imperm. I find Imperm to be weak in the main because I find like negating just one specific monster effect is really weak.
Yeah.
It's really good against Orcus, that Orcus Lunalight deck because once they Azathoth you, this is really the only card that's viable at that point. And once they go into Curious, you really want to negate either the Curious dump or some of their other like cards, I guess. And back row is relevant in this format, so we're playing triple Twin Twister.
Shout out to all the back row players.
All the back row players. I used this against Mystic Mind Burn today. I used this against Guru today. I used this against a zombie player today. I even used this against the SalamanGREAT player today.
Yeah, so everyone's playing heavy back row.
So my matchups today were one Guru, one Mystic Mind, one Cyber Orcus. I also played against Orcus Control. Cyber Control.
Yeah, so it came in clutch.
And I played against. I also played against SalamanGREAT. And what was the last matchup? Last matchup was zombies.
All right. Anything you think you're gonna change? Probably Pyro Phoenix is gonna be tested.
Pyro Phoenix will definitely be tested. It may not be the bestest for me because, like I said in the video, there's a very heavy emphasis on non-destructive removal.
Yeah.
One card I might consider in the extra is a Ningirsu, the World Chalice Warrior.
Yeah.
If you guys don't know what the card does, is that it does non-targeting, non-destructive removal. Because one of the hardest cards or boss monsters to out for this deck is Avermax. But the only way this deck currently outs Avermax is with SalamanGREAT Rage. But when you use IP Masquerena, plus another link too to make Trucidia Avermax.
Yeah.
That Avermax is not only protected by battle, but it's also protected by by destructive effects and also protected from targeting. So aside from Ningirsu, this deck actually would not have any other out to it aside maybe from Borreload, but it required a lot of investment to go into Borreload. So there's that. If you guys have any questions or suggestions that you would like to make, feel free to post them in the comments, right? And we can answer it as they come up. But like this video as always, subscribe for more.
We're doing a revival.
Right?
We're back.
We're back, and honestly, perhaps we'll be doing a tech updates for this format, top 5 tech updates for this format, and watch out for our Shaddoll Striker deck profile, right?
Spicy.
So a spicy Shaddoll Striker deck profile coming up.
Give it a like if you want it. So.
Right? If we get a lot of likes, we'll release not only that,
I got crushed.
but we'll also release another mystery deck profile. All right? Stay tuned.
Keep invoking.